Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, are Democrats accidentally throwing the Senate directly into Republican hands in 2024? 2022, Democrats had a favorable map that was still not so favorable if Republicans didn't consistently drop the ball with many things like funding, mechanics, turnout. They more likely than not would have picked up a couple of seats in 2022, but they didn't. Now 2024 rolls around, the map is extremely favorable for them, and Democrats just are not strategically placing their money. They're the ones crumbling. They're the ones infighting. Actually, when it comes to California's Senate race, where they can't pick a candidate to save their lives and their whole system, which basically was set up to prevent Republicans from getting power, even accessing the general election in many cases. Freezing them out is actually potentially backfiring in regards to 2024, as Adam Schiff and Katie Porter, two annoying resist lib Democrat swamp creatures from California that are vying for that open Senate seat being vacated by Dianne Feinstein, they are going out. And they are collectively raising a ridiculous amount of money that's going to be used against each other. And Democrats are going to be putting a lot of money into California due to infighting, and not just for the primary, but the general. That is taking a lot of resources away from other states that they need. And you look at how favorable the map is right here. You look at Wisconsin, Ohio, West Virginia, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, you name it. Montana, again, there's 3 Senate seats that are up for grabs in deep Republican states that are probably voting red at the presidential level by close to 10, if not a lot more than 10. And that much is very true. And we're going to dive into this and we're going to cover how detrimental this is. But first, I have to tell you guys really quickly about redeaglepolitics.com. If you have not joined my exclusive membership club, please do so at redeaglepolitics.com. You could sign up for $5 a month. That is just 16 cents a day. And we are bringing back the call-in streams, by the way, hopefully within about a month or so. So if you do join the pro tier, you do get those extra call-in privileges there. But furthermore, looking into it, you get all these exclusive videos. I don't always put my videos out on the main channel, but you guys can still get access to 100% of my content. We did a video there earlier today analyzing the first major endorsements of 2024 for the Republican presidential race. If you guys came here for 2024 talk, right there, that's where you go. Also, you guys can join the Discord server and get access to all of my exclusive articles, again, at redeaglepolitics.com. That is redeaglepolitics.com. So Democrats dumping a ridiculous amount of money into essentially a glorified primary. And this was the problem with Republicans in 2022. They sabotaged their own that happened to deviate from the norm, and as a result, they ended up losing a lot of winnable races due to resources, due to turnout as well was a problem with mechanics. There's not just one reason why they lost, but furthermore, they could have eased off some of the losses had they not gotten into these divisive primaries, clearing the fields, which is what they're doing or trying to do for 2024. You have better leadership in power in terms of the Republican Senate chair and the people under the Republican Senate chair that are doing what they can do and trying to get people that represent the interests of the base, but also would be able to win a general election by as much as you possibly can. And you have to maximize those two things. And they are improving on that front. So I think they are going to retake the Senate just because the map is so favorable. I mean, assuming down ballot trends, as long as the Democrat doesn't outperform Biden by 40 in West Virginia, by 10 in Ohio, by 15 in Montana, you probably are going to see them get 52 seats minimum. And Democrats are not going to flip Florida. They're just not. They're likely not going to flip Texas. I think Texas, believe it or not, would be their easiest flip. It's not going to happen whatsoever. I'm not going to go out here and say Republicans are going to be favored in a place like Michigan or Pennsylvania, or that they have like a more than 20% chance at Virginia, assuming they find like the best candidate that could not have been found in a lab that was designed to create the best candidate, whatever. Doesn't matter. What I do know is the fact that the map is easy. And I do know Democrats are trying to do everything they can do not to retain the Senate. And they're making a lot of the same mistakes that Republicans made in 2022, but they're doing it on steroids, and this is a problem. Now, some people will say Republicans are going to find a way to drop the ball, whatever. I get that in a lot of races like Wisconsin, they might find a way. But like when it comes to the big three, Montana, West Virginia, and Ohio, polarization is just so big to the point where, especially if Donald Trump is at the top of that ticket, you're not going to lose the Senate. You're going to gain at least net 3 seats. I think the one Democrats might even stand a chance at picking up is Texas, and I don't think that Texas is really ready to flip yet. I don't think Ted Cruz is necessarily that unpopular. He's not popular, but when it comes to Cruz versus a Democrat in a presidential year, it's pretty evident that Cruz is probably going to end up winning by a couple of points at a very minimum. So looking at that, it's like, okay. And then there's Arizona, because this is another example of Democrats not keeping everybody in check. This is another example of them squandering an opportunity to hold the seat. Because in California, yeah, they have that divided primary field. You're likely going to see a lot of money being poured into it between two high-profile resist libs. Republicans probably may not even have a candidate even advance to the general election, and that would definitely help them out strategically because they're not flipping California. There's no chance in the world they would, but at the same time, if California is divided, a lot of resources are going to be expunged in the state of California by Democrats picking their favorite Democrat. You know that. And the whole primary system that they have is going to backfire. But furthermore, if you're looking into 2024 and you're looking into Arizona, Kyrsten Sinema defecting is a major, major problem. And now she's racking up a lot of donations from these mega donors already. And then you have Gallego, who's almost certainly going to be the Democrat nominee at this point, Greg Stanton, who is kind of more of like a neo-lib choice. He's basically going to sit this one out. Gallego's easily going to clear the Dem field. And then you have Sinema. Sinema will likely take away some of the McCain Republicans, even though I don't think that they really exist in as big of numbers as a lot of people like to think. Some people can say they may be pivotal from taking votes away from Trump-like Republicans in a general election in a state like Arizona. But at the end of the day, they're not that big. And if they all go to Sinema, and then the Democrat is getting the far left base, and Gallego is somebody who is not really that palatable, and Sinema might peel off some establishment Democrats as well. You're looking at that, and let's say she gets 10, 15% of the vote. You look at Gallego, what is he going to get? Like, let's even say he gets like 40. Then the Republican just has to get like 42% or so, probably a little bit more than that when it's all said and done to win the election. I think that it possibly could be done easily there. We don't really know who the nominee is going to be. We could talk about that in a video. But what we do know is Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot because it's very likely that if you do see this come down to Gallego, Sinema, and then somebody else, that it's going to be a lot harder for Democrats to hold this compared to if it was Sinema and somebody else, or Gallego and somebody else. So you look at that there, and it's like, okay, well then, looking at Arizona, it seems as if that is more likely to flip now than ever. I'm not even saying it's guaranteed to. I'm just saying it's more likely to. And then you talk about the 2024 elections overall, and you look at the map here, and you look at states like Wisconsin, states like Pennsylvania. It's like, yeah, Pennsylvania's a stretch. Michigan's open, but it's still a stretch. Wisconsin technically is on the table, but I'm not really going to use that as an example. It really depends who the Republican nominee is that's running. But you look at Ohio, you look at West Virginia, you look at Montana, and you look at how the incumbent senators are voting. Joe Manchin is voting with Biden 89% of the time. And while that tagline didn't necessarily play out as well in swing states, in a general midterm election in 2022, it is definitely something that will play out much, much better in a state that voted against Biden by a ridiculous 40-point margin. Same thing goes with John Tester, rubber stamping his entire agenda, voting with Biden 91, 92% of the time. That's the same amount of the time that Bernie Sanders votes with Biden, even though Bernie probably withholds his votes for slightly different reasons. Same thing with Jackie Rosen there in Nevada. She probably understands that she's going to have to defect more, but still she's voting with him, 92% of the time. Then you look at Sherrod Brown. He's voting with Biden roughly 100% of the time. Biden is despised in Ohio. The Ohio Republican Party is relatively competent compared to other Republican parties in the region. Brown is going to really struggle to win re-election this time around. He got by less than I think a lot of people expected in 2018, going up against a virtual ghost who didn't run a campaign in Jim Renacci. And now it seems as if Republicans are actually trying to get their act together, trying to focus on finding the best nominee. We don't know who that's going to be. Hopefully not Matt Dolan, but you're looking at that and it's like, yeah, West Virginia should go. Montana should probably go. They're still waiting for a nominee there in the search, but given down ballot lag and what it comes down to, it's like, yeah, about that. The biggest margin of difference between a presidential and a Senate election in 2020 was, I believe, 6 percentage points, and it was in Montana with the popular Democrat governor running who lost by 10 to Steve Daines. Meanwhile, you look at the fact that Tester would have to likely outperform Biden by 15 points to win at a minimum in 2024. I just don't see that happening. So ultimately speaking, Democrats are consistently voting with Biden, rubber stamping his agenda in these safe red states, and then their seats are going to be up in 2024. It's not entirely looking good for Democrats in the Senate. You couple Arizona with what is happening in 2024 with these candidates in the Senate map, with the Democrats spending a ridiculous amount of money in California, all the money they're spending, that's number 1 and number 3 of their 5 people that they're donating to. It's like, yeah, interesting. So apparently they're not really playing to win here, at least as of right now, and they're probably going to lose the Senate, which we knew beforehand, but now it's looking ever more certain by the day. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.